Hey friends, my name's Stuart, and I'm really glad you're here. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you needed somebody to help you out? And I remember when I changed schools and I was already a little nervous, a little insecure about it. And I just needed somebody, honestly, I needed somebody to be a friend, but if nothing else, will they just be there to help me find my classes? We all need a little help from time to time, don't we? Everybody does. One glance at what's happening in the world around us shows us that war, hunger, poverty, racism, injustice, hate speech, bullying, depression. It feels like everywhere we look, somebody is struggling and needs help. What I love about your generation is how much you care about a cause. Probably more than any generation before you, you're aware of the needs in the world around you. You see the wrong in the world. You read about it. You speak up. You post about it and support the cause in your own way. But sometimes all of those needs and hurts in the world can be overwhelming. Maybe you see it all and you aren't sure what to do to help, or maybe you've made an effort to do something but got discouraged when you didn't see a result. Maybe you choose to move on and hope somebody else will step up to help. Or maybe you feel so many feelings about so many wrongs in the world that you feel like you have to look the other way in order to move on. This can be super challenging for all of us, but Jesus invites us into an amazing, full life in Him, as if it were a party. When I say party, I mean any effort to celebrate, serve, or enjoy others in a way that adds value to life. So being a party starter means being someone who makes space for that to happen however they can. As party starters, we're called, you and I, not just to live the full life that Jesus has promised, but to help others do the same. But with so many hurts happening around the world, can we really make a difference big enough to make a change? During his life on earth, Jesus often taught people what it looks like to actually be a party starter. He really wanted people to experience a full life. A lot of times, he used parables or stories to make sure the people listening really got it. Today, we're going to dive into one of those parables. I think it can help us figure out how to step in and offer a bit of a rescue when we see a need. But before we get to the story, let me set the scene. Jesus was asked by a religious leader at the time what it was going to take to follow him and live this full life that God promised. Here's the thing. This guy didn't ask because he really wanted to know. He asked because he wanted Jesus to answer it the wrong way. You see, religious leaders knew the law back then inside and out. And because of that, they had an idea of what they thought Jesus would say. But in the ultimate plot twist, Jesus didn't answer the way they expected. He answered their question with his own. Take a look. Jesus replied, "What does the law of Moses say? How do you read it?" The man answered, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Sounds simple enough, right? Love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor. Now, maybe you're thinking what this religious leader was thinking. Who exactly is my neighbor? To answer, Jesus told this story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. Okay, this doesn't sound good, does it? Here's this guy walking down a road people often traveled, and he was attacked, robbed, and left for dead. You'd think the first person who walked by would step up and help, but they didn't. A priest saw this wounded traveler and just kept walking. A Levi, a man who's also a spiritual leader, came by this guy next, and he kept walking too. At that point, this injured guy probably felt like no one's gonna help him. But then something kind of incredible happened. Then a despised Samaritan came along. And when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. This was a huge deal. Back then, Samaritans were disliked, overlooked, and left out by a lot of groups of people, including the religious leaders Jesus was telling this story to. But instead of letting them see the Samaritan as the villain in the story, Jesus made him the hero. The Samaritan didn't just walk by this Jewish man wounded on the side of the road. He didn't choose to do nothing because of the differences between their two groups. Instead, the Samaritan felt compassion for the wounded man in front of him. He saw the need, cared, and wanted to help. And that feeling of compassion motivated him to do something. The Samaritan in this story took care of the man's wounds. He transported him to an inn where he could rest and paid for everything the Jewish man needed while he was there. This Samaritan did all of this because he was loving his neighbor as himself. See, when the religious leader asked Jesus who his neighbor was, he was basically thinking, who do I have to help? The people I'm close to? The people I think deserve it? The people who are the same as I am? But with this story, Jesus's answer was clear. We are all each other's neighbors. When we love Jesus and follow him with our lives, we can start the party for anyone and everyone simply by loving them as our neighbor. This Samaritan wasn't just a neighbor, he was a party starter, because a party starter uses what they have for the good of others. Does that mean you have to help every single person in the world? No, that's just not possible. But as a party starter, you can choose to do what you can, when you can, to help your neighbor in need. Now, when it comes to how you can help others, remember that it isn't about what you do, it's about choosing to see the need and being moved by compassion to meet it. It's about letting God's Spirit lead you to love your neighbor as yourself, because a party starter uses what they have for the good of others. The good news is you have what it takes to be a party starter right now. With God, you have all you need to love your neighbor. So to start, just ask yourself 3 questions. First, who is your neighbor? In other words, who are the people you're around on a regular basis? Second, what do they need? Where are they hurting or struggling or just needing a little help? And lastly, what do you have to give? Let compassion move you to do something. There are so many things we have that can help others. Think about the time, the resources, the money, the skills, the words, or the actions that you can give to help meet your neighbor's need. Some of you might be going through something really difficult right now. And what you need is for someone to be a neighbor to you. And if that's you, that's okay. That's going to be all of us from time to time. The good news is that in your group, you're surrounded by people who want to be a neighbor to you. You have a great leader and a great group of people who are willing to start the party in your life by helping you through what you're going through right now. So I hope you'll consider opening up to them today. Remember, a party starter uses what they have for the good of others. And like I said, the needs around us can be overwhelming. And we aren't made to meet all the needs we see on our own, but we can start by looking around and meeting just one.